runs from the Chinese embassy and ends up dead by the lake.
He was in the same choir at ANU as Sabine Holmes. There's a connection there, there's gotta be.
Steve, welcome to Germany, welcome to Berlin, welcome to Serienjunkies.
Thank you very much.
How you
Great to
doing?
be here.
How you doing?
Going very well. Enjoying it, loving Berlin. It's a great city.
Well, who are you and what are you doing?
That's a very good question. So I'm actually here visiting my son, Harry, who lives in Berlin, but I'm here having a talk to you about Secret City, which was a television series that premiered in Australia several months ago, and which was based on two political novels that I wrote with a good friend of mine, Chris Uhlmann, who's a journalist. So we were two journalists who 5 years ago decided to write a political novel. And then at the same time as we wrote the book, we started talking to Matchbox Pictures about turning that into a television series.
Mm-hmm. So you're not an author, you're a journalist.
Well, I'm a journalist, an author. I've written 3 novels and some other books as well. And I also work as a political consultant. So I'm a sort of a blend of things. But I'm very keen to try and develop more Australian drama for Australian audiences, but also for international audiences.
Do you see a problem if it is Australian politics? Could it be a problem for an international audience?
Not really, because the themes, political themes and political drama is universal. So in Australia, we import a lot of political drama.
Something like House of Cards.
House of Cards. Yeah. But something like Borgen from Denmark.
Yeah, I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was very popular in Australia. Now, it's about a Danish Prime Minister who has all sorts of dramas and it's a very good series. But in the same way, why can't an Australian political drama be shown around the world? Particularly because the themes that we develop in Secret City are the big global themes. America, the big superpower, whose power is in decline. Its influence is in decline. And China, which is a rising power, and probably the only country that will rival America for economic and potentially military power, it's on the rise.
Yeah.
So when you got these two countries merging or moving like that, and there is a lot of tension between those two countries, a lot of tension. And then Australia, which is sort of caught in the middle. You might not realise this, but Australia's biggest trading partner, its biggest economic trading partner is China. So we rely on China more than any other country to develop our economy. It buys a lot of our coal and other resources. Our closest military and strategic partner, America. So America has been our closest ally since the Second World War. And pretty much every conflict that America has gone into, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Gulf War I, Gulf War II, who's gone in there with America? Australia. So we're very, very closely aligned. So when America and China are involved in tensions over the South China Sea and over China reaching out and trying to expand, Australia's caught in a very difficult position. And that's at the heart of Secret City, that tension and the role that Australia needs to play. So I think it's a very universal package, one that I think people in Berlin or London or Beijing will be able to relate to and hopefully will enjoy once it is shown around the world.
I hope we can see it here in Germany, because I liked it.
Yes.
I saw all the episodes. Let's get back to the books, to the Marmalade Files and
Yes.
Mandarin Code.
Yes.
You wrote it with Chris Allman.
Yes.
So he wants to make a more lighter book, as satire, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You wants to have the thriller, and then over one weekend,
Yes.
you came together, and you decided you go this way. Like
Yeah.
how was the weekend?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It was a bit like when you and Harry
Yeah,
discovered that, you know, his father was involved with Secret City.
yeah.
It was a little bit like that with Chris and I. We were having a coffee in Canberra, capital of Australia, and we knew each other, but we weren't very good friends, but we knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just having a coffee one morning.
He's a journalist too.
He's
right?
he works for the ABC, which is our national broadcaster, public broadcaster.
Yeah.
He's very influential journalist in Australia. And at the time, I worked for News Corp, Rupert Murdoch's. So we were quite different in terms of who we worked for, quite different. But we knew each other, and we were having a coffee one morning, and he started talking about this idea for a TV series, a sort of a satire, as you say. And he told me about this idea that he had, and I thought, that's a great idea. And I separately had been working on plans for a sort of a political thriller, a novel. So we thought, let's see if we can bring the two together. So several days later, we sat down with a blank sheet of paper, and we said, okay, what's your idea? And we wrote it down. And then, you know, what's your idea? We wrote that down. So we had these two ideas. We thought, maybe we can work on these and bring them together. So we did. So he started writing his idea. I started writing my idea. We set up a Google shared doc. We set up a shared doc. I work in Canberra, but I live in Sydney, which is 3 hours away. So it'd be like if I was in Hamburg, well, you know, Munich, and he was in Berlin, and we started working together on weekends and you know, in between our job, started writing this novel, The Marmalade Files. And then we got a publishing deal with a publisher, a book publisher for 2 books. And then we started talking to Matchbox Pictures, to a woman, Penny Chapman, who's probably the most experienced and renowned TV producer from Australia. So she did responsible for things like The Slap, The Slap, The Straits, which was some years ago, and going back some years, shows like Brides of Christ, Devil's Playgrounds, which is about the Catholic Church. So she's very experienced. And we started talking to Penny about this idea we had and how we'd like to develop it for television. And she was very keen because she also wanted material to develop for a political thriller. So we gave her the first book, Marmalade Files, and she read it and said, yeah, it's not bad, but it's not enough. It's the bones of a TV series, but it's not enough. So we said, well, we're working on a second book. So when we wrote the second book, Mandarin Code, which came out 2 years after the first book, it was written more as a thriller, a bit more tension and drama, and it was written very much with the idea that it would work towards a television program like Secret City. So that's sort of how the project evolved.
So, what do you think is the difference between a journalist and an author right now, from your perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of journalists write books. A lot of them write non-fiction. Some go on to write fiction. It's quite different. I was a journalist for 25 years, a full-time journalist for 25 years for newspapers, and you know, journalism, you're constrained because you got to write 300 words or 400 words on a particular issue, you know, on a political issue in Australia, or Prime Minister making an announcement. You know, you just sort of, you put it out there. But being an author is very different, because you have to develop a story, a narrative, from the first page to the last page. And it has to all, you know, it has to hold together. So it's a very different process. The other thing about writing a novel, like these novels that we wrote, you want to make them very authentic. So we did a lot of research into areas that we were not all that familiar with, to make sure that the books resonated with authenticity and authority, so that when people were reading them, even though they're fictitious, they're not based on real events, they're very, very, very close to actual reality.
So let's talk about the show. Let's talk about the series, Secret City. I have a quick couple of questions about the production.
Yeah.
Was it all shot on location in Canberra?
No. It was shot over 2 months, about 1 month in Canberra, and about 1 month shot elsewhere, mainly Sydney.
Oh, okay.
For they recreated production facilities, etc.
Okay. In Canberra, do they had any problems with special papers, or to go places they can't go, and something like this, and they have to ask and they have to beg?
Yes, a lot of paperwork, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of approvals. So we had a very, very good location manager, who very experienced, but had not worked in Canberra. So he started working several months beforehand to go through every location that was required. And then you seek permission. And Canberra's pretty good. It's pretty relaxed. It's much better than, say, Sydney or Melbourne to film, because Canberra's a smaller city, 350,000 people, quieter, and they're trying to encourage more film production. So another political show, The Code, which is another Australian show.
Yes. Oh, my colleague Axel, he loves the show.
Yeah. Well, it was also filmed in Canberra, and so it was relatively easy to get approval to film in and around Canberra. The hard part was filming inside the Parliament.
How do you get that?
Well, we worked very hard. So Chris and I, we've both worked in Parliament for 20 years.
20 years, something like that.
Yeah. So we know a lot of people. So we had to go through a process of seeking approval, but it's fair to say that we had a lot of support from our Prime Minister at the time.
Abbott, it was Abbott.
Tony Abbott, yeah. So he and his office were happy for us to film, for instance, in his courtyard, his private courtyard, even though certain people, the police, weren't happy for us to do that for security reasons.
Of course.
But the Prime Minister said, no problem. He didn't. So we filmed 4 hours in his courtyard, and the last scene in the miniseries with the press conference, that's in the courtyard. There's a number of scenes set in that courtyard. It's a wonderful thing to achieve, because it looks authentic, because it is.
It is, right. So after the show was finished, you had a screening at the Parliament.
Yeah.
What did they say?
Well, it was on a busy night in the parliamentary calendar. Our Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, turned up. She enjoyed it. She laughed several times because there were several references to controversial issues. For instance, Australia had just decided to buy submarines from the French. And at one point, it looked as though we were going to buy those submarines from Japan.
Yeah.
And it was very controversial In fact, Germany was also hoping to sell submarines. So it was Japan, Germany, France. France won it's a very, $30 billion contract. So a lot of money. And we explore that issue in the first episode. There's a question of, should we buy the submarines from Japan, or should they be made in Australia with other technology? So that was very, very topical. Yeah. And so when that came out, I think it was Jackie Weaver, the character who plays Katrina Bailey, when she was talking about buying these submarines, everyone was sort of had a good laugh because it was so topical and controversial, and including the foreign minister. So yeah, it was pretty well received by those who saw it, and we've had a lot of very positive feedback from politicians who've seen the show.
And your colleagues, like the other journalists?
Yeah, it's been very well received. I haven't. There's been some criticism, some people who think it's not that good or whatever, but that's okay. That's fine. It's democracy. People can say what they want, but no, people have been very positive towards it, particularly those around the Parliament who know that it's a very authentic reproduction of what goes on. Even though it's fiction, it's parts of it are very authentic and pretty close to reality in terms of the way it's been filmed.
You get any nasty comments from Chinese people?
Officially? No.
No, officially, of course not. But
unofficially?
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be all that happy. We had an experience when we were filming. There's a scene out the front of the Parliament, and the production team had organised for a Chinese choir. And they turned up and they saw these Free Tibet banners.
Yes. And
they had a look and said, no. And they called the Chinese embassy.
Yeah.
And they came up, the Chinese embassy came up within minutes and started filming because China-Tibet is a very sensitive issue.
In Germany too.
So the Chinese choir, they took off. We had to get another choir in to film, and that caused a delay in filming. So the Chinese, I don't think they'd be all that pleased with it. But the series, I don't think, is designed to be pro-American or anti-Chinese. It's designed to show the complexities of politics and not to be too judgmental from a political or ideological point of view. And that's reflected in our books, and I think also in the series. We're not trying to say America's good and China bad or China good. We're trying to be a little bit more nuanced in that process. So I hope that comes across. But, it's a drama.
Yes.
So you have to have dramatic scenes and dramatic script.
Yes.
So there's a lot of drama, a lot of tension, and, people are killed and, but it's a drama, it's fiction, and people shouldn't, read too much into it. But, yeah.
I wouldn't say this is an anti-Chinese series.
Yeah.
I would say this whole thing, it's Australian politicians, they're making their way. So, and they lie. Of course, what they do.
It's universal.
It is. Oh yeah, it is. So, last question about the production. I saw that they're filming with a lot of blue and silver filters. So sometimes I would say, come on, it looks like, I don't know, Vancouver or something like that.
Right.
Is the weather really that bad in Canberra?
Well, it was filmed in winter.
Oh, okay.
It was filmed, and it was designed, it was filmed in, I'm just trying to recall, September, October. Probably our coldest month is August. But it can snow in Canberra. It can snow. It gets very cold in Canberra, and it can be quite bleak. And we wanted to capture that bleak sort of winter. So in a sense, it was a little bit, maybe a little bit Scandinavian in terms of the bleak setting. But they really wanted to do something that they wanted to portray Canberra in a way that was, captured that bleakness in a way. We were hoping. I mean, there's some scenes where there's a fog or a mist on the lake.
Yes.
We were hoping for more, but because some mornings it's just covered in fog, you can't see. But we didn't get too many of those days when the filming was taking place.
Yeah.
So in a way, it could have been even bleaker. But yeah, I think they very much set out to capture that bleakness that Canberra, can have, and try and characterise the city in a way that's quite enticing from a viewer's point of view.
So let's talk about the actors.
Yeah.
How do you get Anna Torf to play the main character?
Harriet Dunkley, yes. Well, Anna is an Australian actor who's spent a lot of time in America for the last, I think, 8 to 10 years perhaps. But she comes back to Australia. In fact, she was in another production that Matchbox produced for Foxtel about Gallipoli, about war correspondence in Gallipoli. And so she's very familiar, of course, with Australia and Australian production. She was also in another recent film, The Daughter. That came out about the same time as Secret City. So she was sent the scripts, and I wasn't involved in any of those negotiations. That's not my thing. But when she read the script, she was very, very excited and very keen to try and land that role of the journalist. And I thought she did a brilliant job.
She did. Are we happy that in the books it is a guy?
It's a guy, Harry.
Yeah. So no, it's Harriet. So are you happy with the transition?
Yes. It was a big change to make. But when they were writing the Secret City scripts, that was their really big decision to take. But they felt that they could develop a more interesting character as female protagonist. To have a female journalist who's very very committed to her profession, and a very interesting relationship with other characters like her ex-husband.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Who is now Kim.
Yeah. So it was, they thought it would make for a really interesting character, and they asked whether we were comfortable with it, Chris and I, and we thought about it, and then we said yes, because you trust them to do the right thing and to come up with good, strong storylines and to develop characters that are very compelling.
Yeah, it's still a thriller, not a soap. So
it's not a soap.
Yeah,
it's a thriller.
How came they up with the idea to make Kim a transgender, or was it in the book? Or?
It was in the books, yeah.
It was in the books, okay.
Yeah, so Kimberly was based on characters that Chris and I developed for the first book, and yes, and I think we kill her off in the end of the first book, and but she was loosely based on some people we actually know in Canberra.
Oh, okay.
Who were a little bit different. In our books, she is a man who dresses in women's clothing. In the series, she's a woman. She's had the operation.
Yes.
So it's a bit different again between the books and the series. Although in the series, Kimberly is played by a man. Yeah. Damon Herriman.
Yes. And very, very good, I have to say.
Good. Great character.
Yes.
Wonderful actor.
Yes. A plot of the story is the Australian Defence Minister has an affair with the wife of the Chinese ambassador.
Yeah, yes.
Didn't he think about consequences?
Well,
I mean, the story goes. I think they know each other for 20 years or something. She was a translator back in Beijing and something like that.
Again, but very much based on our books. So in our books, we had Paxton. He was a Labour politician, but he'd gone to China, Beijing, when he was very young, on an exchange program, which a lot of Australian politicians or trade union officials do when they're young. And he'd met Weng Mei, and they had an affair, and then they'd finished, and then she came out to Canberra, and they rekindled that relationship. I mean, there's
especially as the defense minister.
Yeah, but there's a lot of there's a history of Australia's spy agency, ASIO, just been released like this week or last week, an actual real account over the last 40 or 50 years. And I haven't read it, but I've read the review, and it talks about all of this sort of stuff. So it doesn't actually talk about ministers having an affair with a Chinese woman, but it might do. I don't know. I haven't read it, but I mean, is that so hard to believe? I personally don't think so.
I would say no. I would say no.
Yeah.
For the audience who didn't read the books, we can safely say now the show is over, the series is over. Dancer is, I would say, the man behind, something like that. It was quite shocking. Is it the same in the book?
Yeah.
That someone who is really, really close to Harry?
In the books it's very much a question of betrayal of Harry, not just Dancer. Harry, our journalist, is betrayed by a number of people, politicians and others who he trusted. So yes, it's a little bit different in our books. We actually develop the Dancer character in our third book. We develop that character even further, but it's a person who's doing work for an organisation, following orders, and thinking that he's doing the right thing, and that he's protecting the country, national security, and that he'll do pretty much anything to achieve that, even if it involves murdering someone who he loved. So it's it's a very important character. The TV series and the book, the character is quite similar, but there are some differences as well. But it's pretty close to how we develop our Charles Dancer in the books.
Okay. We talked about that a little bit before. Is there a second season? I mean, I'm dying to get a second season, like Anna Torf, you told me.
Yeah.
She's really behind it, but you don't know.
We don't know yet. I mean, that's not a decision for me. I hope there will be, and I think there probably will be, because I'm told there's a lot of interest in Secret City in terms of people wanting to show it, hopefully, around the world, so people in Germany will be able to watch it. It's coming out on DVD in Australia in a few weeks' time or a month's time. It will be available for people to watch it if they haven't watched it on cable TV, which is the only way that it's been shown so far. Will there be a second series? I hope so. We're in the process of developing an outline for a second series, but no decision has been taken, and it's something that will take a little bit of time.
What conspiracy can we expect of a second season? Do you have a storyline in mind?
Well, that won't be up to. I mean, it will be. We've had some involvement, but they'll develop their own story outline, and they've come up with some ideas. But I can't tell you about those because they're confidential at this stage. But look, it will be it will continue the genre of political thriller, and it will continue to involve Harriet, and it will continue to look at the complexities of those various relationships between journalists and politicians and spies and diplomats. It, will continue in that sort of vein. So I think it will be hopefully as good, if not better, than what has already been shown. But it's early. There's not a definite storyline now. Episode 1, episode 2 of a second series. It's a long way.
I hope
from
you
that.
can secure the cast, because the cast was amazing.
Yeah.
It wasn't not only Anna Torf. So we know Anna here in Germany. So Alan Dale, we know him.
Yeah.
But that's probably it. The Australian characters I'm sorry, but we have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
But they're amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we hope you can secure it for a second season.
Yeah, well, I think there was a very good reaction in Australia, and I think, I don't know, because some of the cast are overseas, are based in America, Alan Dale and Jackie Weaver and Anna Torv and Eugenia Wan and people like that. But let's hope that we can, if there is a second season, that we can secure most of the cast. I mean, some of them may not be needed in the second series. Dancer won't be needed. That's right. So, but some of the others will obviously be. Anna Torv as Harriet Dunkley was obviously absolutely crucial. So, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So the last question, we everybody who's in an interview with us get the same question. What's on your TiVo or what's on your DVR right now?
What am I watching?
Yeah, what are you watching?
Oh, okay. I've been away from Australia for a month.
Okay.
So I haven't been watching a lot other than hotel video, which is not very good.
You have to watch Rosehaven.
Rosehaven.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But Waiting for Me at Home, The Tunnel.
Okay.
The Tunnel, the British French.
Yeah.
So we're about halfway through the latest season of The Tunnel. So I'm loving that. I've got the DVD, House of Cards, season 4.
Yeah.
Halfway through House of Cards, season 4, on DVD. So enjoying that. I love House of Cards. I love Kevin Spacey, and it's a great series. So I'll be watching that. I'm still to watch the second season of The Code. Has been shown in Australia, but I haven't watched all of it. So I want to go back and watch that. So, those sorts of shows I really like. Good, strong political drama. Other thrillers or other dramas. I love European television. So they're the sorts of shows that we're watching, or that I've recorded that are waiting for me back in Australia.
Are these mostly British or Scandinavian?
Oh, a bit of both. I mean, The Tunnel is French-British.
It's a co-production.
Co-production.
Yeah.
House of Cards, American, obviously. The Code's Australian. Yeah. So it doesn't particularly concern me. I do like British. I love British shows. Luther, and I love The Tunnel. I love The Bridge.
What about Sherlock?
Don't mind Sherlock.
Okay.
I enjoyed Follow the Money, which was the Danish series, which was fairly recent in Australia. I thought that was very good. Follow the Money, and I thought that was a good. I thought they handled that. They made it very dramatic. The storyline. It developed some good characters.
Do you get the shows dubbed or with subtitles?
Subtitles, yeah.
Okay.
They're not dubbed.
Okay.
So
in Germany, they don't like subtitles. Everything must be dubbed.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I've
noticed. Yeah. But that's cool. Look, there's so much good drama around, and I love film, so I haven't really thought too much about film other than I like to watch 8 days a week the film about the Beatles, which has just come out, which Ron Howard directed, which looks very interesting.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Mariano, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This is a serious warning. some way for me to get this story out.
You're right about a lot of things. I should have worked it out.
We're falling. The question is, which side are we falling to?
Let him go!
This is the way we need to play it.